Today's Rambam is Yisura Bia and deals with a lot of halachas of Nidah. And although I'm not dealing so much with the actual Rambam of today, because today's Rambam is very technical, and a lot of halachas of the Rambam are just basic information of Nidah and really belong more to the area of Psak Halacha. However, we are going to deal with the issue of Nidah in a general perspective as to what is this, what is the idea of the Isser of Nidah to her husband and beyond, and how do we look at it? So we're going to really stress somewhat yesterday's Rambam's Perek Dalid, but it really applies to all the halachas of Nidah, as the Rambam spends a lot of time talking about the Tumah of Nidah, the idea of more on the focus of the Rambam is the Tumah of Nidah, which is in today's Prakim, because today's Prakim are dealing with Tumas Nidah, and therefore the Isra of Nidah. But in Perek Dalid, Halacha Aleph, in a Surah Bia, the Rambam starts and writes, Hanidah he kishar kol arayis. Nidah is like all other arayis. And he goes through, therefore, the halachas that follow if somebody, the prohibition of having relations with this woman who's a Nidah. And if one does, he's chayiv kares. And then he continues and says, even if she's only 3 years old, she's like Elorayis, and he writes, Shabbas mistameis b'nidah afilu b'yein lovdas. Now suddenly he switches, because a woman becomes tamei nidah from the moment the day of her birth. And the continues on for some reason, throws in a line of Bas Hasaria Matam Beziva. Comes the Tumaziva, is 10 days old. And this is something that we learned in Shmua, that there's no difference in Gedela, Liktana, Latumas Nidas, doesn't matter the age. And it's obvious that the Rambam is telling us, trying to say something here, because we're not here into the discussion of Tumas Nidas. We're in the discussion of Erva, Iksure Bia, relationship that cannot be, that are not allowed to happen between a man and a woman. So, so why is he talking about a 10-day-old child, which has nothing to do with relationship and has nothing to do with what we're dealing here? The earliest that a woman is considered that there is a physical contact, a relationship is 3 years old at earliest. So why does he discuss earlier than that? However, he does establish a point that Nidah is considered one of those forbidden women, and not just forbidden, that she has the concept of an erva. An erva is not just that she's forbidden. There are a lot of women that are forbidden to marry a certain husband, as we'll see later. A Kohen Gadol is not allowed to marry a grusha, but yet, and an alman is not allowed to marry any Kohen can't marry a grusha. A Kohen Gadol can marry an almana. It doesn't matter. That's the fact. That this is something unique, erva. Now we'll see soon the effects of what erva means. Let's transfer to some of the stuff we learned already previously in this cycle, and the Rambam in Hilchas Ishus Perek Aleph Halacha Hey. writes, Kol she'osar biyasei b'Torah, anything that the Torah says you're not allowed to marry, not to have relations, v'chayiv al biyasei kares, and that as a result of that relation, you will be chayiv kares. Those are the list. Those that are listed in Nachrimais. Hein anikroim aroyos. Those are called erva. Chol achas man nikrois erva. The aroyos, and individually they're called erva. Aroyos is a plural. Erva is singular. Kigoin ein va'achois ubas ukietzla. Like a mother, sister, daughter, all those are erva. And erva, as we'll see soon, you cannot marry. Perek dalet halacha beis in Hilchas Ishus. A little further down. One who hamekadish achas men arais, somebody who extends kedushin to one of the arais, meaning he says, he gives her money or whatever, a ring, and he says, you are betrothed to me as a wife. Loi asa klum. Very strange expression of the Rambam. Did not do a thing. Why does he write that? It's not the lashon of the Gemara. That's a question that's asked. Shein kedushin teisim be'erva. You cannot have any kedushin in one. Somebody who is defined as an erva. Oh, but is an exception. Chutz min Nidah. Now, except for a Nidah, a woman that at the time of accepting the ring, and he says, you are betrothed to me, and that woman is a Nidah at the time. So yeah, there it's different. Shemakadesh is a Nidah reizu mukudeshes. Kiddushin gemurim. It's totally good kiddushin. They ain't roy lasts can ever. It's not appropriate to do so. Why? It doesn't say. Where does he get it from? It doesn't say. We'll speak about that soon. But he seems to have to stress that although she's an erva, which he clearly states here, it's part of that league of women that are considered an erva. However, kedushin is a good kedushin. She's different. In Hilchas Ishus again, let's continue on further. Perek Yud Halacha Beis. There he somehow backtracks a little. And he said, well, he didn't really backtrack. He's talking about a different part of the wedding. Once the arusa goes under the chuppah, we spoke about it last week by Yibum. Harezu muteres loy lavei aleh b'chalei sheirtz. He is able to have relations there whenever they want. The Arei he ishtik more l'chaldava finished. That's it. Now they're married. Mishtikanis l'chuppah nekreis nesua. That's she moves from being an arusa to an asua. Even though at that point she hasn't yet had physical relation. But she needs to be capable of being. Which excludes the following. If she was in Nidah at the time, even though there was a chuppah, when they were alone together with witnesses, knowing that they're alone and watching them, that nobody else enters that space. It's not done. I haven't finished in a second. And Vareika Arusa dying. She's still an Arusa. She hasn't got married. She's engaged in the level of Arusa, not in the level of Arusa. Okay, so here the Nidah aspect does have a very, very important role. You can be Mekadesh, you can't go to the suit, according to the Rambam. Okay, so, but it's clear from the Rambam that the Rambam is out to stress that a woman who's a Nidah is considered a erva. It is not so simple. There's a lot of discussion about this, whether a Nidah is an erva. And I'm not talking about this anywhere, but the Rabbeinu Tam, known as from the Balei Tesis, in the Sefer HaYoshar, which is where he answers a lot of questions and writes other things. He writes up to his brother, Rabbi Ephraim, and he goes in and discusses the issue of Nidah and ends up saying, since a Nidah is only a temporary issue, because she will eventually get past it and she can become pure and mutter to her husband. So therefore, it cannot be considered a Nidah. There is no an erva. I'm sorry. There's no erva liyema. There's no erva that's temporary, and therefore, she is not legally considered an erva. And because she can go to the mikveh and she can remove it from herself, and therefore, it's not in the same league of erva as everybody else. It's interesting. The Beis Yosef and Simon Kuf Tzadik Hey, the name of the Trumas Hadesh, brings a shaila. A woman who was a Nidah, who fell sick, can the husband take her pulse if he's a doctor? And he writes, nope. And he brings, even if there is no other doctor around, because it's an erva. Down in erva, there's a din yaharig val yaver. No way. And even though it's only touching, we're not going to get into the whole issue. The Rambam holds us the Raisa, not the Rabbanon, and therefore it's part of a Gila rice. Okay. The Minchas Chinuch and Parshas Emor discusses it at length, brings all the different opinions, and he brings the Beis Yosef and writes that there are those who argue on him, doesn't understand what their opinion is. And the Rayas, this is a very, very, very big sugya. Okay. Recently, in El Chazim Chalitza, we came across Alocha Perigvav, Alocha Yadalev, and Rambam writes as follows: Yivama she almana min anasuyin, v'aleh kain gadol lenifter tzarasa. No good. Yivama from Nasuyin, even if the kain gadol went and it's obviously he's the brother-in-law. No good. Why? And the essay of Yibum is not push away the loisas and assay that exists by a kain gadol that he cannot marry almana, and he has to do chalitza. Il chishgogis perik beis halacha ches. The Rambam writes, "Kaloisa mitzvah and mitzvahs." Anybody does a mitzvah, any of a mitzvah, and while he's doing the mitzvah, he makes a mistake and does a shegig. He doesn't have to bring a chatas because he was involved in doing a mitzvah. And he says, somebody who, gives an example, somebody who has relations with his Yivama in order to marry her, as we learned, and she's a Nidah, and he didn't know, he doesn't bring a chatas. Now, all this is Gemaras and Gemara Psachim. The end result is that if a woman is a Nidah and the Yavam has relations with her, she's married to him. It's his. As the Rambam says, he's doing a mitzvah. Taisus Yavamas asks, how is Nidah different than Achais Ishtay? The rule is that Achais Ishtay, your wife's sister, is usher for you to marry as long as the wife is alive. Now, in our times, let's say he divorces the wife, it doesn't matter, he can marry his sister. Wife dies, he can marry his sister. So she is a woman that is potentially her Isser or Erva is potentially removable, similar to Anida. And even if the wife dies after they were after she fell to Ibn to him, in other words, he was obligated for Ibn, but he could. No, it's gone. Too bad. Lost. Why? So what's the difference between that and a Nidah? So Taisus gives two answers. Answer number one is that Nidah is not specific to the Yavam. It's a general Isser to everybody. Whereas a Chaysishte is an Isser to him. What does that mean? Who cares? They're Arab or not Arab. Make up your mind. But that's for sure. There's a difference. Another reason he gives, a very interesting reason, is that once she was an erva to him, it's not fit for her now to become mutter to him. It's a lack in the imus. She's erva today and tomorrow not. But a woman that's a Nidah is somehow different, because she's a married woman. She'll be an erva. She'll be a Nidah for a while and then out. So it's not a lack of the Darkinayim. Again, it could use more understanding, but the idea at least fits easier. Okay, so we have a few points here in the Rambam. A, why does he inject the Ziva and the pre-3-year-old problems? Why does he stress that the Makadish are also klum? So the Radvaz in Chuvas asked the question, and he wants to say that Le'asa Klum is trying to say, you didn't hurt, you didn't benefit, nothing. It didn't hurt anything either. Okay. So, then on the Ein Roy Lasses came, he said, don't be Mekadesh a Nidah. And the Kesef Mishnah brings from the Ramach. Why? And our minig is to do it. Not only that, our minig is to go even do chuppah, but okay. So the Magnesium wants to write two reasons. One is you can't do Kedushin because she's not fit to live with as a wife. She needs that understanding, as according to the Rambam. Second is maybe they'll be together. He might touch her, and that's not permissible. It seems like a gzeira. Okay. We read that if somebody is the chuppah with a Nidah, the Rambam sheet says it's not good. And the Rif asks, the Ran and the Rif Hamzari asks, why not? It brings Gemaras. There should be nothing wrong. Yesh chuppah l'psulas. And he argues, disagrees with the Rambam. Okay. Again, going back to Taisus, the fact that she's Asr Lakel makes it better than she's only Asr to the Yavam. And why? That's the questions that Achrayim ask. Why would that be? All right. Another question that's asked, Rabbi Soloveitchik asks, he says, the same way a almana l'kain gadol doesn't work because ain't esa deicha leisas of esa. The esa even shouldn't be deicha leisas yesh rekaris. And the one who's miyamas yivemte Nidah is over is rekaris. So why is he kind of? Now he gives an answer, and there's a parallels in what we're going to say and what he says, but it's different than the approach that we're taking. But There is some connection there. Another problem, Taisus in Gittin that base says that you learn Eidech and then Bisurim from Nidah. Now, Chaim Briska asks, how is an Eidech and then by Nidah? Because of Eidech and then Bisurim, Nidah's erva. Ain't Davar Shev Bach Mishnah. You need two for the Davar Shev erva. Okay, good. There's Exeris HaKosov that Nidah erva is good one. It's assuming there's Exeris HaKosov, but that's not. How does that have to do with Eidech and then Bisurim? So I think what's going on over here, and what the Rambam is stressing, and what Taisus is stressing, and what the Gemara, what the Gemara there in Taisus and Gittin is saying, erva by definition usually means that the relationship between these two people is this unique relationship. Let's give an example. Let's talk about a chayis isha. Right now, this woman and this man are taboo. They cannot have a relationship. This woman and this man cannot have a relationship. And all the cases, you name it in the Torah, it's all a question of this and this. These two can't meet in the form of a relation. A Nidah is an erva, according to the Rambam. No question. However, her erva has nothing to do with relationship to him. It's her being. She's at a state of being of tumah that creates erva. Her tumah creates erva. And therefore, it's different. That's what Taisus means. She's Osar Kula Alma. It's not to do with a relationship. It has to do with her being. She is a being of an erva. Her status is erva. It's a status, not a relationship issue. If that's the case, it makes a lot of sense what the Rambam is trying to stress here. In Perek Daled, Isur Bia, the Rambam is trying to say that she just knows that. That's why he talks about the tumah part, not because she's not an erva. Clearly, the Rambam is saying she is an erva, but just remember that her erva is not about relationship. And therefore, he brings things that have nothing to do with even relationship. He brings when she's 10 days old, when she's a day old, because even though it has nothing to do with the at that point with the Isser Erva, but that's who she is. It's a status of an Erva, nothing to do with their relationship. As a result, there can be a relationship. But however clear, as a result, according to Rambam, she is an Erva. But it is not a relationship erva. But because she's an erva, you cannot come to a point of marriage that has to do with living together as husband and wife, because there's a lack of there cannot happen, because she cannot be living together as husband and wife and you cannot create a situation of living together as husband and wife with a woman that you can't live together, according to the Rambam. However, remember where it comes from. It comes from Isser. It comes from not Erva. It begins with Isser. Most Ervas start with Erva. This begins with Isser, that becomes Erva. Therefore, Eidech and Isser, because the issue here is Isser. The result is Erva. Now, could be that's what the Maggid, the first shot in the Maggid at least, he says that why does the Rambam say Ein Hiroi L'Kacha? because she's not really Labia. In other words, even though Ersin has nothing to do with Bia, Ersin is about they becoming engaged. However, she is an erva, and we do learn that you're allowed to, but you shouldn't do it. Because right now she is not fitting to him, and you're not going to be able to come to the level of marriage. So therefore, even though it's Kiddushin Gimurim, because her erva has nothing to do with relationship, but since ultimately marriage is about relationship, it shouldn't happen. And that's why the Rambam stresses le'asa klum by the others, because since we have an erva that it is also klum, and it's a marriage, so he has to say these type of ervas, there's nothing in the erva that allows you. This is just because of a different type of erva. And that's what Taisus is stressing. It's a beautiful word. That she's also kula alma means she's also for everybody. It's not about relationship. Oh, could be that's a derecheh darkeneim also. It's not just that, because when you're married, it also happens. It's much more than that. When a achos isha falls to a yavam, right now that they are taboo. That relationship it cannot happen. Since it cannot happen, it wouldn't be appropriate that suddenly this relationship became good. The relationship between these two can't exist. So that's not noyam. They're lacking in the inus. But Nidah, the relationship is not what's wrong. Yeah, they can't have physical relationship. They can't have that relationship. But it's not the relationship that's a problem. She is a problem. Her status creates the problem. And that will also answer what Rabbi Soloveitchik asked. But again, he goes further than we're going with this. And that Alman L'Kohen Gadol is also an isser of relationship. It's not her status. The Kohen Gadol can't have that relationship with her. Oh, that's not good. The Nidah is nothing wrong with. She has no problem with the relationship with that, although she is also now a relationship. But it's about her, not about the relationship, and that's why he can, especially with what we said before, that the relationship of a Yavama, we said in one of our shurim, Yavama is. The relationship is a pre-Matan Torah relationship, so it makes a lot of sense. Anyway, I think the main point that we want to bring out here, that the Rambam Shitta is no question. Nidah is an erva, like the Beis Yosef says. It might even be a shaila, whether Yehorig Val Yaver on a minor part of it, as long as it's related. However, it is not based on the relationship between the two. It's based on her status that creates the Isser relationship. Whereas most of the other erva is the relationship between the two that creates the status, that creates the Isser. And here the relationship is a result of her status. Anyway, have a good day. Be well. Hatzlacha.